sweet.
Alright, let's go ahead and try this. Can you guys in the chat hear me now? For those that are in here. Alright, cool. So the audio works. Alright. So, thank you for tuning in to the first live Twitch edition of the train station. This would be episode 5. If any of you missed the previous episodes, they are all on my YouTube, which the link will be in the chat. With me today is my co-host as always. And with us today is another guest who you guys, if you don't know, was with me for episode 2 when we talked about the death of Mr. Shad Gaspard, my good buddy Darrell. Alright, and today, we got some sad news to talk about and discuss, but, it's kind of important. So, just a couple of days ago, alright, gosh dang it, I guess they can't hear you now. Let me see. How's that? Can you hear it? You guys speak real quick.
Hello. Mic check.
Alright. So they probably
All good?
hear the introduction. So yeah, this is a very, very bad first live stream, but again, this is the very first one. So don't take it, don't
Too hard.
Don't be too hard on us.
It's a prototype.
So
Prototype,
anyways,
yeah, amen.
As I was saying, this is episode 5 of the train station. The other 4 are live on my YouTube channel right now, with that link being in the chat. With me today is my co-host, as always, Joe.
Hey guys, what's going on?
And then we have a special guest with us today, my good buddy Darrell.
Hello, everybody.
And for those that don't know, he's already been on the show once. He was on I believe it was episode 2, when we discussed the death of WWE superstar Shad Gaspard.
Hard emphasis on episode 2.
And today we are going to be talking about the cancellation of football and the impact it has on us sports fans, but also, the community and such. So, just a couple of days ago, the MAC conference announced that it would be canceling all fall sports due to the coronavirus pandemic.
Ooh.
And then today, the Big Ten decided to follow suit and also cancel fall sports.
It's disappointing, to say the least. This has been going on since, February, March? Which I personally believe has been here a lot longer, but once testing became available, obviously numbers have spiked and more cases then popped up across the nation. But the failure to listen and really failure to comply with guidelines from the CDC and Dr. Fauci and everything, I think has led us to this point. It's not that hard to wear a mask for an hour in a store or wherever you're at. And, a lot of people are saying, oh, we want football season. But I feel like the same people saying we want football season aren't doing what we need to do to have football season. And now this is where we're at. And it's highly disappointing. I was looking forward to college football season for so long. And now the MAC and the Big Ten are canceled. And who knows what's next.
And I think, before we were interrupted by audio problems with previously, I was saying that the MAC really didn't have much of a choice. Especially since us central people, they had 2
fire up chips.
They had 2 2 Big Ten opponents, in Northwestern and Nebraska, where they were going to make a good around $2 million just to play those games. So when Big Ten announced that they were going to go to conference only, the MAC really didn't have much of a choice but to cancel.
Yep, and I feel like that's where they get a lot of their funding too, is those games. And even if you don't win those games, you still get a good chunk of money.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I know
It's what, half?
two seasons or 3 seasons from now, they have both, or they play LSU coming up and they play Alabama coming up, and they're making a big chunk of change from that. I know they have Penn State coming up as well, and that's gonna be another about
Oh man.
$3. So the games might look terrible, but that's the way to rack in money.
Yep.
And that's how the smaller group of 5 schools survive by playing these bigger schools, getting their butt whooped, or they could pull what they did against Oklahoma State and upset, but you never know.
And as Oklahoma State fans like to complain that that wasn't an illegal forward pass, and they were cheated out of a loss or a win, excuse me. But we all know how it went down.
In my opinion, that game, Central Michigan, they were the national champions when they beat them.
Amen to that.
I mean, as a guy who was always having Central on my radar just because of the program that I was going into, watching that game, it did kind of feel like that. It kind of felt like, holy crap, but they just won the national championship, even though it was just a meaningless, regular season game.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap, they actually pulled that off and won.
I remember watching it with some friends in a dorm room, and as OSU had the ball and trying to run the clock out, I was like, all right, that's it, that's game. And then next thing you know, like, everybody on the floor is screaming and hollering, and we were like, what in the world just happened? So we flipped it back, and we saw that they had just scored on the Hail Mary, or the lateral, rather, and I was so disappointed that I turned it off, because I'm like, we really just missed that once-in-a-lifetime play. But
right,
still there.
Anyways, getting a little bit back on track with the cancellation. What do you guys think? How do you think it affects the just the community as a whole? Let's just say the football community as a whole.
Oh, it kills morale. I mean, this is, whether you watch sports or not, sports are an influence in your life somehow, some way. And especially for these players, I feel bad for the seniors, and we can speak on that, especially when COVID hit. I lost, a good chunk of my senior year. Graduation's been pushed back multiple times now, and at this point, I'm not even bothering to walk because it's more of a hassle to try to make the plans. But it kills morale. We were all expecting to have the live sports with football, and we have baseball, we have hockey, we have basketball right now, but football season just hits different, in my opinion, and now we don't have it, and kind of stuck in that quarantine depression, it feels like.
Yeah, which it feels like we have been in there for quite some time.
Oh yes.
Darrell, what are kind of your thoughts on the whole community being affected by not having football?
I kind of feel like the community knew this moment was inevitable. Mm-hmm. That we knew sooner or later it was going to happen. When the Ivy League came out and said, yeah, we're not having any fall sports, people, again, still kind of underestimated it because, it's the Ivy League. Who watches that? Again, right. The Ivy League is the residency of some of the most intelligent people in not just this country, on the face of the planet. It is proven that presidents come from Ivy League schools.
If I can interrupt just real quick, all the Supreme Justices, or the justices that sit on the Supreme Court, I was told by a professor, if you want to sit on that seat one day, you have to go to Harvard or Yale or somewhere from one of those schools. So,
exactly. If you want to be president, you got to go to Harvard, Yale.
Unless you're Trump, you can just win on money, but,
Exactly.
That's neither here nor there.
Our boy Parker in the chat said, "What's up, fam? What's up, Parker? How are you, man? Get to work. I know you're there."
What up, Parker?
Somebody
Slacking
I think
off.
the NFL will follow. Absolutely.
Yes.
I think it's just a matter of time. I give it about a
Yep.
month or so, and the
Absolutely.
NFL will cancel because unlike the NBA and the MLB, there's not really a bubble that
Nope.
they can be within. Whereas the NBA they didn't send every team, and I think that helped a lot. Where they only sent 12 teams to the bubble, so less than half the NBA.
And before we had some more audio issues, that's what I was saying too. Was do we put college players in a bubble? But there's so many college teams that I feel that would be kind of hard to do, and ultimately, is it even worth it?
Parker in the chat said Rel talking out the side of his neck.
Boy,
Not really sure what that means, but if you want to go and handle that.
Parker, don't make me tell your boss that you on your phone on the clock.
Oh, there's some shade being thrown.
Mm-hmm. But my point with Big Ten now just announcing it, all these Power 5 conferences were slowly peeling their Band-Aid off. And SEC, they will do their best to play, even through a global thermonuclear war.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw an article that said Bill Beekman said, should there be no football, and there won't be, he said MSU is going to see an extreme amount of cuts in their athletic departments.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that till now. There's going to be a lot of programs that are on the fritz now.
We have a couple of things in chat here. Chippy Smurf asked said personal opinion. They had 5 to 6 months to prepare both the NCAA and NFL to prepare the bubble, and they dropped the ball. I don't think so. I think the NFL could have possibly done a bubble. I think for the NCAA to do a bubble is much, much harder just because of student athletes rather than professional athletes. So them having to go to class and stuff, it's just a lot harder as in college than it is the pros. The NFL easily could have done a bubble, but the NCAA I don't think could have possibly done a bubble.
And it's not the first time the NFL has dropped the ball in anything. We all know that.
And they asked, what is that jersey, young fella? This is a Lonzo Ball jersey, New Orleans.
Lonzo Ball.
Is it Dr. Fossey talking? No, this is not Dr. Fossey talking. This is A-Train, Darrell, and Joe talking.
But if I may interject, I wanna answer that chat a moment ago about did NCAA and NFL, did they drop the ball? Here was my theory. They were both playing chicken to see who's going to call it off first.
Yeah.
Here's the difference between college and the pros.
Insert Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, exactly. But NFL has a players union. They have leadership. They have a commissioner who is the voice of the owners. All right?
Yeah.
Big Ten and Pac-12, they have their own thing. That's the problem. There was no leadership. Nobody was on this from the get-go saying, here's our policy for this upcoming year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're asking, we got to test every other day. Some of these big schools don't even have money for that. They're spending more money than they get.
Well, I think more of the bigger schools can afford it where, as we were mentioning, where like the MAC and stuff, they couldn't afford it, especially with the bigger conferences going conference-only games. And so the testing for the bigger schools isn't an issue as much as it is the smaller schools.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree. I can agree.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a very sad day to walk up to. Personally, I don't really know what to do from here because for this first time in my 23-year life that there's not going to be football on in the fall.
Yep.
And so it's kind of a kind of a transition year where I'm like, I'm not really sure what to do, how to how to survive a weekend without football. Like,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do on Saturdays now? Like, I spend my entire Saturdays watching football, and now suddenly that's been taken away from me. It's like, what am I supposed to do now?
You're gonna have to respect the hustle and work.
Do what every college student is doing since 2014. Just play NCAA football 14 every Saturday.
Oh, that sounds familiar. One of our friends said that earlier today too. But yeah, life's gonna be different now without college football. I mean, yeah, like Anthony said, that's all you really do on Saturdays is college football since midnight to about 10 at night, and
You mean noon, not midnight? Noon to about, yeah. I mean, even later than that, the Pac-12 comes on about 10 o'clock because that's, 7
right,
p.m. on the West Coast.
right.
Yeah, football till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, you got my point, but actually, it's funny you mentioned Pac-12 because I have a sneaking suspicion the Pac-12 is the next to call off their season. Don't know why, I just do.
Oh no, I think if anything, I think the SEC or the Big 12 will be the absolute last conferences to call off. They're going to try everything in their power to stay on because the SEC and the Pac-12, the South is football. The South literally knows nothing but football.
Mm-hmm. Eat, sleep, breathe football.
I think that they will try everything to try and maintain to have a season, even though with everybody else canceling, it's not going to leave them much of a choice.
No.
You can't really crown a national champion only having SEC or only having Big 12 football. It's not really exactly how that's going to work.
Well, it's always been like that for the past 10, 15 years.
So, I mean, I think the SEC will probably be the last one just because they want to wait because they, LSU, Alabama, and all them want a football season. But I think, I think you're right. I think the Pac-12 will be next to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think after the Pac-12, I think you will see probably the
ACC,
one of those, or the ACC, yeah, one of those. But I think like the ACC or another one of the Group of 5 conferences cancel next, right after the MAC, if they haven't already.
Yep.
All I can say is it's going to be an interesting fall.
Very.
Yeah, for sure. And we still have, as of right now, football on Sundays. But again, we're not really sure how long that will last.
Yeah. I think Jarrell said it too, that it's going to be, another month?
Yeah, I think we both kind of agreed that it'd be about it's going to be like right before the season starts, I think.
Yep. They're gonna get them through camp, and then they're going to be like, yeah, just kidding, we're going to cancel the season.
Yeah, because it's very hard to have a pro season without a college season, as they kind of, and it'd be kind of hard to have a college season without a pro season because they kind of intertwine with each other.
Yep, they do. As you mentioned before, our technical difficulties with the draft and
yeah, it's very hard to go ahead and have a college football draft when those guys technically didn't play to have that eligibility to leave, because the college eligibility rule in football is that you have to be on campus at least 3 years. So be a redshirt sophomore or a junior, but without playing that, it's going to be interesting to see how the eligibility thing works with this whole coronavirus pandemic taking a year away from play.
Correct.
All right. So do you guys think do you guys think that it'll go into the basketball season at all? Because with the NBA back, it will end.
Ooh.
Do you think that it'll come back in time, or do you think that it'll be pushed back once again?
I think it might be pushed back, because there is talks of a vaccination in the works that could be ready by December, if not early spring, I think is what they had said. So at the most, it gets pushed back a couple months. But I think that really depends on if the vaccination is ready in that time frame. If it's not, then they might cancel it completely. If it is, it gets pushed back.
All right, so here's a bit of a touchy subject question. Do you think that it's a bit overblown? Either one of you can answer that.
In terms of,
Just like everybody and the way they're reacting to it, and all these cancellations and whatnot, where we did all that we could by going on lockdown and whatever. It's not going to go away anytime soon. So you think it's just
no.
overblown?
Was this a chat question?
No, this is just a question I can answer.
Oh, well, I have an answer for anybody who is thinking that way. Go on CNN and look at the right-hand screen. You will see a legit scoreboard of how many deaths there have been. And you ask yourself, is it real or not? Because I know people in my dad's side of the family, I know his friends, people have passed from this. It's legit.
Right. No, I'm not saying that it's not legit. I'm asking if you think that, it's just a bit of an overreaction from a people standpoint.
I mean, go ahead. Finish your offer.
It's a novel virus, which means doctors are learning it as we go.
Right.
Everybody is. I think that it's slightly blown out of proportion because, Matt Stafford just a couple of days ago, if not a week ago now, my days have all blended together now.
Right.
Because I've worked nonstop, but he tested positive, and a couple days later they're like, oh, actually it was a false positive.
Right.
So really, how many of these cases are false positives, and how many of these deaths are false positives?
Exactly. That's exactly
sadly,
what I was going to get to next.
Sadly, these hospitals and everything get kickbacks if they list COVID related symptoms or as COVID deaths, which in my opinion is wrong. But
right.
At the end of the day, it is what it is, and so only time will tell, and research will be done, and it'll be like, oh well, actually, it wasn't as bad as we made it out to be. But
right, no, and I think I agree 100% with you. I think that because of the numbers, we're not sure if they're actually true or not because of all the false positives or those could be false positives. We're not really sure how bad the actual virus is.
And as a disclaimer, I'm not saying completely disregard and.
Oh no, definitely.
I'm not saying this isn't legit, and don't take the precautions that they're telling you to do. Completely do the precautions they're telling you. Wear the mask, wash your hands, socially distance if possible. But if you shouldn't be going out, don't go out. Don't risk it. Don't, because that's how this keeps going. Is I think people don't think about how they might be affected by this, and they just go out. But
I think I'm gonna try and put it this way. I think that we waited too long. I think when we were in lockdown, that's when we should have enforced the masks as much as we do now, and I think it helped. But I think we waited just a little bit too long to enforce the masks as much as we are now.
Well, I do know at the beginning of this they said masks don't help, and then,
Yeah, now all of a sudden it's mask up. So it's like, if we just enforced the masks when we were in lockdown, only for us to go out to get essential items. I think if we were mask up then, I think we wouldn't be in this predicament that we are in now.
No, probably not.
Should the NCAA just play football in the spring instead of canceling it all? Absolutely, 100%. I believe they should move it to the spring because I believe by the spring, all of this will be at least, if there's not at least a vaccine for it, it'll at least be a lot more calm than it is now. So I think to the spring would be a lot smarter of a decision than just completely canceling it in 2020.
I know high school football's been talking about doing that. I think it would be smart to do, but like you said, time will tell. So you could really delay it and say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a possible football season in the spring. And, from now until then, see how the virus goes. And if there's a vaccine, if the vaccine's working, then by all means, let's do it. But if not, then there's no football. It is what it is.
Darrell, before I ask you for your opinion, I missed it a while ago. The notification popped up, but thank you, Super Chip, for the follow.
So fire up, Super Chip.
So, Darrell, what do you think about them moving to the spring?
Personally, I think it is a bad idea because then also it'll push the draft, and then you also got to think, okay, say we get this thing under wrap before June, then you got guys coming back from surgeries and all this, and you're telling them, oh, you got 3 months to get ready for camp to come back for the fall.
Here's the thing, though. Would you rather just have them push the draft back or just not have a football season at all? I think I would rather have them push the draft back and us having a later draft later in the year rather than completely getting rid of football.
I'd rather just them say, you know what, let's cancel it right now.
I have to agree with that. Because the thing of it is, all right, you play a football season later in the year, then you draft and you tell these guys to get ready. Then you have to have a quick turnaround for football season, and not everybody's going to be ready to go.
Right, and I can see, I can see the turnaround being an issue. But what also if in the spring they don't play the full 12-game schedule? What if they cut it down to just 8 games?
And that was my next thought.
What if they do a way to shorten the schedule, kind of like how when the NBA came back, they shortened their schedule from the 30 remaining games to 8, or MLS coming back in a tournament style format where they shorten the current season and then going back to normal in the next season.
I mean, we watch football to see grown young men in college and grown men in NFL try and literally take each other's heads off.
Yes, we do.
Whether it's 6 games, 12, or 18, they're going full speed trying to obliterate you. So there's still going to be injuries regardless. Injuries in the first game.
I mean, it's what you sign up for, though. But I think by shortening the season, it gives them a better chance to turn around than playing a full 12 and then 2 months later having to play another season. I just think by shortening it, it could work a lot better. Even if you have to push, fall football back instead of starting in September, even if you have to start in October, you could still end in January.
Well, I'll feel a lot better when they got this vaccine and
I think we all
numbers start to go down.
I think we'll all relax a little bit.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of it is just the time of year that it is. It's just a really bad time with everything and elections and all that coming up. It's just a really weird time for everything. And unfortunately, this year we don't get football, but we can only just hope that we get it.
I mean, to backtrack on the season thing, I'd rather have a shorter season because at least you have something rather than nothing.
Oh, exactly.
You can get an idea of what the circumstances are going to be for later dates for the draft and the playoffs and all that. But because again, how do you grant these guys eligibility and everything like that? Because then what happens to the incoming classmen?
Right.
Do they get So it's just the unknown and how they want to handle everything.
Right. No, exactly. I agree 100%. I think, like I said, for the NCAA, it's much tougher to get into a bubble unless you forced everybody to take online classes, and then you could, in a way, get all the conferences to play in a certain location. But even then, that's more difficult than having the NFL go into a bubble. Cream the Dream in the chat. What is up, Caleb? How are you, man? Any other questions, thoughts you guys have?
Actually, I have one thing I want to bring up. As we saw it a few minutes ago, Ryan Day, Ohio State head coach, he just tweeted about an hour ago saying, quote, swinging as hard as we possibly can right now for these players. This isn't over. Hashtag fight.
Because he wants to run 100 up on Michigan for Harbaugh calling him out.
Because Harbaugh called him out for saying that they are running practices beyond the allotted amount or unauthorized practices, whatever it is. So he wants a football season so he can put 95, 100, 105 on Michigan. And I very well think he could do it the way Don Brown plays against Ohio State.
Not only
crossing
him,
routes.
An hour ago, also, James Franklin, Penn State head coach, just tweeted, quote, "I love our players and believe it is my responsibility to help them chase their dreams, both collectively and individually. I am willing to fight with them and for our program, hashtag we are." My opinion on this is they're just giving them lip service. Do you really believe, both of you, your opinions, do you believe these coaches, these big Power 5 coaches, actually care about their players or just want a season?
I believe some of them do. I think guys like Dabo Sweeney, I think James Franklin, he always comes off as that guy that does.
Oh, yeah. James Franklin, 110%.
Dabo Sweeney at Clemson definitely does. And there's just coaches like that do. Otherwise, guys like Harbaugh, he just wants a season. Nick Saban just wants a season.
Saban, of course, wants a season.
Just there to collect a paycheck. They want the season, but I think there are some coaches that absolutely care about their players.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me tell you, there is one coach in my mind who I absolutely think despises his players, and that is PJ Fleck.
PJ Fleck? I don't know. See, that's where I would need Parker to get in, since Parker
he might
for him. He spent a year at Western playing for him, so that's where we would have to have him come in and give his thoughts on PJ Fleck. But as far as that, I'm not really sure. It seems like he comes off as a nice guy, but it could all be an act. So I'm not.
I was just about to say he might be a little two-faced on that, but I don't know. I don't want to make that assumption, but
I think on the next stream we can bring Parker up in here. He can talk about what it's like to play for a guy like PJ Fleck.
That would be interesting. Let me see. Did I get? Hold on. I'm sorry. I thought I got a notification on Twitter about college football.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, but as I was saying, guys like Nick Saban and Jim Harbaugh, they're just kind of here to collect a paycheck. They're not really.
Oh, 100%. Especially Harbaugh, because he's getting paid so much.
Hey, Caleb, you want to clarify what you mean for sure, but do the presidents? Like, what do you mean? Ohio State sucks, 100%.
Worst state ever.
Terrible mascot, terrible colors.
Yeah, why would your school be a nut?
I mean, you've seen their stadium? It looks like a toilet.
Yeah, I do.
100% looks like a toilet.
I don't know, but I feel like the atmosphere in there would be absolutely nuts and it would be so much fun to be at.
Oh, absolutely. I've always wanted to see a game there. LSU's another one I want to see.
Yep. Clemson.
Adam Schefter just tweeted that there's an article that says Jim Harbaugh advocates for fall football, cites facts. He said, "I'm not advocating for football this fall because of my passion or our players' desire to play, but because of the facts accumulated over the last 8 weeks since our players returned to campus on June 13th.
Hogwash.
He's saying the program has 0 positive tests out of the last 353 administrated, zero tests among the coaches and staffs over the entire 8 weeks of testing following CDC guidelines, and self-implemented stricter standards for contacting, tracing, and quarantining to prevent spreading."
And this is all Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh ended the statement with the hashtags "We want to play" and hashtag "We want to coach" in support of the players who came together Sunday night to create the joint statement to express their desire to play in the 2020 season.
Look, here's my personal opinion about Jim Harbaugh. It's just, he's one of those uncles that you see at Thanksgiving, and when he has one too many beers, you're just like, okay, can he go now? Like he is just so.
I think
such a two-face.
I don't know. I think the problem with Harbaugh is the media absolutely despises this man. They don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's always in the news, and he's always seems like the bad guy, because that's what the media wants. They want to think that Jim Harbaugh is the bad guy, when Jim Harbaugh, like the rest of us, is just stating is entitled to his opinion. He said, okay, so the university presidents don't care about their players. You are correct. They're there to give them a scholarship. I mean, I guess it goes both ways, kind of like the coaches. I think some presidents do, where some don't. Like, I know our president, President Davies, literally one of the nicest dudes you will ever meet. I think he cares for each and every single individual there, whether you're an athlete or not. And Joe, I know you can give your opinion on President Davies, but I think President Davies, the university president, does care about his players. He cares about his students. He cares about his.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a great guy, in my opinion.
He does. He is, and he was more than Ross ever was. He's out there with his students. He's out there at football games, walking up and down the little sidewalk there along the student section, high-fiving, taking pictures. I don't ever recall seeing Ross do that. So I think some presidents do care about their students and their staff, but I think some don't. And I think Davies is one of those guys, Ross isn't. Big schools, it might be harder. I don't want to say big schools presidents don't care. I think it's harder for them because there are so many people there. Whereas in smaller schools like Central, or if you go to like Saginaw Valley or Grand Valley, it's easier to make those connections and to be out there. So I guess that's 50-50.
Right, and I was going to say, to add on to what you were saying, Davies would, he'd shake your hands and be like, thanks for coming. He wanted to see.
Yeah, he would.
He wanted to see that fan interaction. He wanted to get to know you.
Yep.
Whereas, I think even our AD, who I can go on and on about, didn't really care as much. He was just kind of there. Whereas I think President Davies, he wanted and he liked that personal connect. He wants that personal connection with the students and the players.
He did. Yep.
And so I think he's and it, like you said, it's easier for smaller schools because we don't have a lot of students that go to the games compared to like a Michigan or a Penn State where there's 40,000 students that go to a game.
Uh-huh.
Where us, it's there's just maybe 200-300 kids that show up to the game, and so it's a lot easier to get that personal connection with them.
Oh, I agree.
Though I'm surprised he's able to high five us.
Yeah, buddy.
Flag tag SPC, my buddy Shane. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it.
Go.
Okay, so Chippy Smart from the chat. Ross did it on the down low. He was just too proper for it to do it as Davies did, I think. And I think that's how some presidents just operate. I think some are more laid back than others, where some are more just kind of there to be the president of the university. As I mentioned, Davies is kind of more, he wants that personal connection, where Ross is just more there to run the university the way it was supposed to be run.
Right.
And it's kind of like that with football coaches as well. Some football coaches are just there to coach football, but some, some other ones are there and they want the personal connection and they want to see their players succeed. Whereas, rather than just coaching them, they want to teach them, they want to have that lifelong friendship with them where they can go to them for anything.
Yes, I agree with that. Speaking from personal experience as well.
Let me tell you, I've had a conversation with President Stanley at MSU, and I've met him. For someone who is supposed to be extremely intelligent, never have I ever heard just a bunch of words that had no meaning.
That's tough.
It's tough, but I mean, I asked him a question, and this is actually relative to our topic about college football. I said, do you believe the NCAA will one day pass a rule that says we're going to give college players health care for the next decade when they graduate? Because my dad, he played at Purdue. My stepdad played at MSU. He was a starter for under Nick Saban. And they both got chronic pain. They've got my dad's got back problems. Stepdad's got neck problems, and I'm just like, hey, one day when are people gonna say, hey, we're gonna give these guys health care to X amount of years as a way of saying, we can't pay you, but here we go, we can take care of you.
Right.
The guy just literally dodged around my question as it really I don't know or I can't answer that.
And yeah, I kind of noticed that too. That some football coaches are like that. Like there was one time where we have this bar up here that like the football staff and the football players go to, and they'll answer your questions, but they always find a way to kind of like loop around the question without actually. They'll answer the question without actually answering it. Like I know one time, and they were asking. It was when our coach Bonamigo was still there. They were asking him, "Yeah, so is this guy good to play this week?" And he's like, "I can't really get into that, but he's doing well. He's back at practice, but I can't answer if he's going to play or not." So like he answered the question. Okay, he's not injured anymore, but he's not. He doesn't. He can't say if he's going to play or not.
Right.
So it's just kind of that's just kind of how the coaches are. I don't like that personally. I think that if we are going to ask you a question, I would rather you be straight up honest and don't dodge around the question.
I think part of that might be there are maybe some certain violations that could be had if they answer the question directly. So I think that's why sometimes you dance around the question.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand if you're like doing like an interview like in front of the media, but this is just talking to like the community and to the fans that are curious about the upcoming game.
Yeah, but you also have to understand how fast information can spread, especially with all the social media that's out there.
Right.
It's so I think it's part of that too.
Right.
I think in sports it's a chess match. You don't want to reveal your best move or your next move too easily, because then they're going to have you right where you want them. So you kind of have to put on a poker face and keep your opponent guessing. So I think part of that too is all the strategy.
No, I agree. I understand the whole point of it, but like sometimes I just wish they would just answer the question. I don't know. I guess maybe that just has to be with me being a broadcast / journalism person. I'm looking for. I'm not trying to be biased, or I'm looking for both sides. So I would prefer you just be straight up, so that I have a story to tell.
Yeah, I can understand that side too.
Anything else we got to cover, or you think we covered it all?
I think we hit it all. I just hope that people see this as a wake-up call and start taking the virus a little more serious and putting their health in a better standpoint for others too. Maybe we can get a football season, but who knows?
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 5 of the Train Station. Before we leave, I need you guys to enter the chat. One of the people I watch is live. We're going to raid them. I need you guys to do hashtag Train Gang in the chat.
Train Gang!
So when you guys are in here, let me know and we will get that started. And I don't know when we'll be back. I'm going to try and talk to my buddy Parker, see when he's available. I know, Joe, you're very busy. But yes.
Yeah, work's got me.
Mask up, wash your hands, do all that you need to do so that we can go out there, have football back, have sports back, and go back to, masking up now so that we don't have to mask up later.
Just do as Big Gretch says. Whether you like her or not, just do what she says.
Big Gretch with the Michigan gold chain. Yeah.
That woman from Michigan.
Joe, are you on Twitch?
I don't have it downloaded, but I can jump to. Let's see here. Hold on. Hold on.
Just remember, when I hit enter, we're gonna enter the raid and it's hashtag train gang.
Probably be faster at this point.
It's all good. I can just
TWITCH.
Twitch.tv. Also, if any of you want to follow my social medias, they will be in the chat. Exclamation point Twitter, exclamation point Instagram.
I can literally tell you nobody wants to see your Liv Morgan.
Hey, you know what?
Ain't nobody want to see that.
Join the Discord. For chatting after streams, we got general chatting, we got sports chatter, we got all that stuff in the. Go ahead and join.
I kind of wanted to mention something about the Liv Morgan, but Joe, you beat me to it.
I'm glad we were thinking the same thing.
Speaking of that, if you guys get on Twitch, I can show you the host emote or the host alert.
Anthony, what's your Twitch?
It is the A Train 95.
All one word?
Yes. No spaces, none of that. Just straight the A Train 95.
I found him. Oh, there he is.
So /host. Remember, hashtag train gang.
Watch this be flagged for something.
Nah, I'm a mod in this chat, so it's all good.
Alright, I'm in. We good to go?
Yes, in 5 seconds.
Dang, boy, you growing out your beard. Atta boy. I look like a 12-year-old. I have to shave every day for work. Oh, alright. I'm apparently.
Hashtag train gang.
I just shaved my beard for the first time in over a month. A couple of days ago. Let me tell you, I look like I was from Game of Thrones.
Anyways, this has been fun. We got some things to work on for our next Twitch stream, but I think it went well. I will catch you guys at the next one. Darrell and Joe, as always, thank you guys for being here with me.
Thank you for having me, man.